Alfonso Giordano is today on our list of corrupt cops who got caught. He was a former member of the street crime unit who was found guilty of numerous charges of corruption and using police resources for personal gain. While serving in the street crime unit, Giordano was implicated in a plot to seize narcotics and money from drug traffickers, which were then sold for personal profit. As per the prosecution's allegations, Giordano and his associates allegedly used their law enforcement status to intimidate and harass individuals involved in drug trafficking. Furthermore, it is claimed that they often resorted to excessive force during their operations. This is why he is the subject of the video today. He is convicted of charges that include obstruction of justice because it is suspected that he was involved in hiding the illegal activities of his colleagues. The prosecution was of the opinion that Giordano and his associates fabricated official police documents and provided false testimony and tried to hide their illicit activities. Giordano's case is not the only one of its kind, as there have been many more later. In 1992, a group of law enforcement officials from the 30th Precinct in Harlem were apprehended for engaging in the theft of narcotics and money from a drug trafficker. The incident, commonly referred to as the Dirty 30, led to the prosecution of 28 police officers and underscored the necessity for significant institutional reforms. Subsequent to these occurrences, the NYPD instituted various modifications aimed at enhancing the transparency of the organization. The reforms encompass the creation of an autonomous supervisory panel assigned with the responsibility of investigating allegations of police misconduct. Additionally, new training initiatives and ethical standards were implemented for law enforcement personnel. Although there have been considerable efforts to uproot this disease, the issue of police corruption and misconduct continues to pose a significant challenge and a matter of concern for law enforcement agencies throughout the world, and not only to this particular nation. It is evident that addressing these concerns necessitates implementing structural adjustments. The instance of Alfonso Giordano is a warning example that highlights the dangers of police corruption. It highlights the significance of robust ethical guidelines and accountability mechanisms within law enforcement organizations. The aforementioned statement emphasizes the significance of transparency, accountability, and adherence to the rule of law in maintaining the confidence of our establishments. Moreover, it underscores the persistent requirement for enhancements to law enforcement systems across the U.S. Despite the persisting challenges, there are indications of advancement in the battle against police corruption and misconduct by placing a better focus on these issues and responding to the rising call from communities for greater transparency and responsibility from law enforcement agencies. Significant strides can be made towards establishing a more equitable and unbiased society that serves the interests of all. In summary, the case of Alfonso Giordano as a living example of the adverse consequences that corruption and misconduct can inflict upon law enforcement agencies, as well as the erosion of public confidence in such institutions. Despite the fact that both occurrences took place many decades ago, they continue to underscore the persistent necessity for transparency, responsibility, and principled guidance in law enforcement. This case is an important one because it sheds light on the impact of police misconduct in perpetuating systemic imbalances and injustices. Giordano, a member of the NYPD Street Crime Unit, and his team were assigned with executing high-risk operations in some of the most impoverished and overlooked neighborhoods of New York City. The individuals in question not only contravened legal statutes and eroded public confidence in the judicial system, but they also wielded significant sway over the communities they were supposed to be protecting. Research into instances like this one have only confirmed what has always been true, that the use of excessive force or the manner in which they treat have adverse effects generally on all the body, but specifically on the communities of color or minorities. The observed behavior can be attributed to heightened police investigations and surveillance within said communities, resulting in more frequent and aggressive interactions with law enforcement personnel. The possibility of police personnel engaging in corrupt or abusive conduct has the capacity to erode confidence and elevate tensions between law enforcement and the communities they're responsible for serving. Recently, awareness campaigns have raised the issue at hand and turned the attention of people towards the misconduct of the police officers, therefore asking for transparency and accountability of such individuals. Consequently, several law enforcement agencies have implemented modifications with the objective of enhancing police community associations, intensifying officer conduct supervision, and promoting ethical leadership and professionalism in law enforcement. Many reforms have been suggested to address the issue at hand. These include using body cameras to enhance transparency and accountability, the creation of civilian review boards to investigate allegations of police misconduct, and the execution of training programs that prioritize cultural awareness and de-escalation techniques. Moreover, many law enforcement agencies have endeavored to enhance diversity within their personnel and are in favor of representation from underrepresented communities. This practice is implemented with the purpose of fostering more robust relationships with the communities for which they are responsible in serving. The case of Alfonso Giordano extended over multiple years and encompassed a diverse array of illicit undertakings such as narcotic trafficking, larceny, and coercion. Giordano and his associates faced allegations of using their positions within the NYPD to aid their operations. These activities encompassed use of law enforcement resources and intelligence to safeguard their drug distribution endeavors, as well as the misappropriation of funds and narcotics from suspects. This is an actual concern. What needs to be understood is that these charges were not the only ones against Giordano and his accomplices, but that he was found in far more menacing acts that endangered the lives around him. It also involved using covert operations, electronic eavesdropping, and monitoring activities. The accused was ultimately found guilty of numerous charges, including the distribution of narcotics and participation in a scheme to commit extortion. As previously mentioned, he was subsequently sentenced to prison. The Giordano case garnered attention not solely due to the extent of his illicit activities, but also due to the complicity of the corrupt environment that existed within the NYPD during that period. It has been alleged that Giordano was involved in a larger network of corrupt officers within the street crime unit. The said organization had the reputation for its involvement in illicit activities and for extending reciprocal legal safeguard. The aforementioned case has prompted investigations into the hiring and training protocols of the NYPD, as well as the organization's overall culture and leadership. According to some adversaries, the department's focus on using forceful methods and policing based on results created a culture that incentivized officers to resort to unethical practices and take expedient measures to attain their objectives. To summarize, the case of Alfonso Giordano serves as a prime example of the dangers associated with police misconduct, underscoring the significance of effective guidance, moral principles, and supervision within the realm of law enforcement. A significant amount of work remains to be accomplished to tackle the fundamental problems that give rise to police misconduct and corruption. This entails tackling the root causes of poverty and inequality that can lead to heightened police activity and crime rates. Additionally, it involves addressing prejudiced and discriminatory conduct within law enforcement that can result in differential treatment of various demographic groups.